Welcome back to the channel. I hope you stay, click like, and drop a comment. Now, I wanted to go over Brian Mcknight's response to the backlash he's been getting about how he treats his actual real children versus his stepchildren. And I did a whole video, I'll link it in this one, how I personally believe that he is not as happy as it makes it seem, because there is a photo, and I may insert it in this video, of him and his stepchildren and the woman that he calls a wife. I call her something else. Yeah, of them together, and it's this look on his face. It is weird. It's giving Get Out vibes. It's getting just demon vibes, to be honest with you. But I wanted to go over the response. His response is not shocking, but there's a lot of celebrities who are calling him gross. There's a lot of people who are speaking against him because the leverage that he had was, oh, my children are adults. They need to go out there and get it on their own. But yet his stepchildren are adults now, and he's buying them lavish gifts. Yeah. So that blew his, little excuse out the water. And he just hates his children. For you to cut off all communication, you being the parent of the child, you being the adult. I know some other adults who are like this too. It's like it pains them to adult. It pains them to be the bigger person, and it pains them to admit where they're wrong and where they're at fault and take their responsibility. But this situation is on a whole new level. It's very disgusting to me. Like I said, hate is a strong word, but that's what I feel every time I see Brian Mcknight. I hate this man, and I wish him nothing but the worst.
Discussion online lately about how I talk about my family on social media. Typically, I prefer not to give attention to the internet trolls, but now my family is being harassed online and accosted in public, apparently because some people can't handle seeing my happily ever after. Coming after me is one thing, but the moment you come after my wife and our children, it's another story, because even more important to me than defending my name is defending and protecting them. I want to address some of these recent discussions. There is a very simple reason why I post about some of my children on social media and not others. The children that I do not currently have relationships with, I don't post about them. Instead, I post about the children with whom I do have relationships, with whom I am proud of, and about whom I want to share my pride in their accomplishments. I don't live in the past. I live in the present and the future. I am so proud of the man I am today, the husband I am to my wife Leilani, and the father I am to our children. I'm so proud of our love, our family, our life. So I will, without apology, continue to shout about it as loud as I can. If you can't help or handle seeing happiness and love, then I respectfully ask you, why are you even on my page? Maybe you should ask yourself that too. Another thing a lot of people have been talking about is the lawsuit my adult daughter Brianna brought against me a few years ago. There's been a lot of misinformation about the case, and a lot of people who don't know what happened acting like they do. I think it is important to clear up some of that misinformation. In 2020, my biological daughter Brianna sued me for defamation and breach of contract. I posted a page from the lawsuit here and the file number down below, so you can look this up for yourself. And you will see that she did not ask for an apology or even ask that I remove the alleged false statement from the internet. All she asked for and all she wanted was money. The case was dismissed before there was any decision whether my statement about her was defamatory. We settled the case earlier this year, and I agreed to pay Brianna some money, but here's the interesting part. She sued me for defamation and breach of $1 million life insurance policy, and I agreed to pay her $318,000 with no admission of any wrongdoing whatsoever. You heard that right. She dismissed $1 million case in exchange for payment of $318,000 with no admission that I did anything wrong and no requirement that I retract my statement or remove it from the internet. If someone said that I did something I didn't do and I won a case proving that I didn't, I demand a public apology. I demand an acknowledgement of wrongdoing, and I demand a retraction of statements. The face value of that life insurance policy was $300,000 with $18,000 worth of interest. I did not defame her. I made no false statements. I made up no stories. You can do what you will with that information in deciding who you think won the case. I know that some people on the internet would rather not know the truth about what happened, but for those of you with an open mind who are more interested in facts than rumors, I hope this helps explain what really happened in that case. Finally, I want to address the abandonment issue for the last time. Those kids and I have had a long history of conflicts, mutual estrangements, and resolutions. But there was a time when we were truly a successfully blended family. Julia, Jack, BJ, Nico, and Brianna. Our home was filled with love and acceptance, so much so that the kids were all calling each other siblings, contrary to the picture that's been painted online. Christmases, birthdays, Thanksgivings, Friendsgivings, all spent together, even standing up for me as my best man in our wedding, along with their brother Jack, which I posted a pic of here. Shortly thereafter, the same conflict over money arose again. We parted ways, and the next thing I knew, there were 2 posts from Brian and Brianna in 2019 telling the world a completely different narrative for the reason why. I never abandoned anyone. Our estrangement was mutual, but those posts made any roads towards reconciliation and acknowledging them a dead issue. And I changed my will the next day. I've spent the last 30 plus years building a recognized, respectable name, and ironically, there are still people out there who are trying to smear my name while still carrying it, hoping to use it for their own benefit. I make absolutely no apologies for naming my infant son Brian. I want him and the world to know that he is the one who is my true legacy. So I'll be over here, continuing to love and protect my wife and our children as we continue to love our life.
Now, he said he usually doesn't give credence to internet trolls. So, because people are talking about the situation with his biological children and how he has cut them off, and the reason why he cut them off is contradictory to what he's doing with his adult stepchildren, they're trolls now. These are the same people that go to his concerts and, listen to his music and stream. And I would say, you call me a troll, that's it. If you go to concerts, if you do anything, go to events or anything dealing with Brian Mcknight, which is mostly Black women, that should be it. And then he said that his family is being harassed and accosted. Nobody has hit his children. Nobody has assaulted his wife. Nobody has done any of that. He is just mad because he stated out of his own mouth that at one time, his biological children and stepchildren were okay. So if there was so much love between them, or everything was cordial and gifts were exchanged, they had a relationship and all that, are they okay with cutting that relationship off with them just because there's some drama between you and them? That's the question. That's for the wife and those children, because they will do anything to get the trinkets that he gives them. They are willing to cut off a relationship because he said so. And if they don't, they can be in the same position. You can't handle seeing his happy life. Nobody gave an F about Brian Mcknight. I haven't heard any of his songs unless it comes up in a joke. And that's far and in between. Everybody is talking about his children, not him. And as the narc he is eating up this attention, even though it's on the back of his biological children. He's going to defend his wife and their children. First of all, that's not your children. That is a Filipino man's children. But he's going to defend them to the death. Someone that didn't come from him, but he's willing to throw away what came from him. Speaks volumes. He said the children that he doesn't have relationships with, he doesn't post about them, and he shrugs like, oh, well. Like I said, he has a disdain for his Black children, and it is disgusting. And he is a disgusting excuse for a father, and he is a disgusting excuse for a human. He posts about the children who he is proud of, which he's not proud of his Black children for whatever reason. I personally could not find like criminal behavior, any behavior that's not typical of a teenager, and they have lots of accomplishments. And his sons are musically talented. Well, the thing he is not proud of is because they have his skin tone. Those children are a part of his past, like his ex-wife. So he's basically erased them, and he started over with his baby mama. and her children. And he said he's proud to be the father to her, wouldn't they call them bastard children? But he's proud of the man that he is today. Yeah, and pride comes before the fall. He's shouting about this family as loud as he can because he's trying to drown out the fact that he knows he's wrong. And also, he's trying to force something that is not there. He knows if he didn't have his wealth and he wasn't accomplished in some way, she wouldn't give him a second look. I actually agree with why is anybody even on his page, not to do any research about his deviant behavior, but to uphold him in his deviancy. Now, this lawsuit is because he said that she had an inappropriate relationship with a cousin and she was underage. Either one, this is not true at all, or two, how can you as a grown-ass man sit up here and say that an underage girl can have a relationship with a grown-ass man? That would be essay, I would think. And he didn't protect his daughter. He wasn't there for her. And, she was just out there for the pickings for a degenerate like himself. What I didn't like about this is he tried to double talk by saying that the case was dismissed as if he didn't do anything wrong. This was a frivolous lawsuit for defamation and breach of contract, and they just threw it out. And then he said right after that they settled. So which one is it? Did they dismiss it and throw it out and you didn't have to honor anything, or did you go behind closed doors and you paid a specific amount, which within agreements like this, you don't have to plead guilty. You don't have to do certain things if you're going to settle this out of court. So I guess he thinks people are stupid and don't understand that much, which is insulting to anybody's intelligence. That yes, this was settled out of court. All the information is not going to be out there. You don't have to say whether you were guilty or not, but obviously you were because you had to pay up. And he went on and on about retracting his statements. He doesn't have to. That's a part of the settlement. I'm like, he thinks he's smart, but he's actually dumb, and he's making himself look even worse. And he said those kids, which he really doesn't feel like these are his kids. He has literally detached. And I think that is the most putrid thing that I have ever seen from anyone. But it is something that's common in the community, in the Black community, where men will have children and then run off and not care if they are breathing or not. That lets you know about the soul of the person, the mind of the person, and the heart of the person. Goes on to talk about how they were successfully blended and shared some happy times. I don't believe that bullshit for a minute, because the baby mama wife and her children would do anything he says to stay in his good graces and get the trinkets that they get. So what it seems like is happening is that his Black children are not going to bend the knee and kiss the ring to whatever the hell he says just because he has money and he had clout 20, 30 years ago, if not 40. But yeah, and that's something that he doesn't like. This narc doesn't like that. Those children, the Black children, the Blacks, will not do everything he says. When he say jump, they won't jump. And it pisses him off. And that's why he cut off the relationship with them. And that's why he sees those other kids, along with their adjacency to whiteness, he's being a girl dad, and this is his son, and the new son that has no skin like him, and the features will be different. That's why he said that's his legacy. Basically, those Black children over there, it has nothing to do with him, even though they're his biological children. He is leaving everything to somebody else's two children, a baby mama, and this biracial child. In his mind, he thinks that they got along, but you can really tell when people are doing things, and I think we've all done it within our family, where we really don't say how we feel. We just go ahead and just to keep the peace, and that's what was going on. But this narc, he thinks everything was this Hallmark card in his effed up mind. And seeing how he's a liar about the lawsuit with his daughter, he literally lied saying it was dismissed when everything was settled, which is a big difference. How can you believe anything else that comes out his mouth? He basically said that when his children gave an account of how they felt in their life with him, he didn't like it. If it wasn't positive and fluffing him up and putting him on a pedestal and thinking he was the best thing since sliced bread, and they had grievances, they had issues, and they talked about it. They put that out there. They talked about it. He didn't like that. And there's a lot of people who would say, oh, why would you put this online? Why are you airing everything online? He airs all his life online. Brian Mcknight puts another man's seed up on a pedestal over his own online. He puts that energy out there on the internet, on social media. So they are literally coming out saying their point of view, their side of things, and putting how they felt out there, and he didn't like it. So that's why he cut them off. Has nothing to do with anything else but his fake false ass image. So that's why he cut them off financially. Nothing that they did, they didn't do anything wrong. And also, like I said in the first video, I believe he's jealous of his sons. I believe that he had this malice against them because they were musically talented and they could have been bigger than him. Then he wanted to make sure that because they put out, because if you follow the words that are coming out of his mouth, he was talking about how they put this information out on the internet, even though he was putting information that was antagonizing them out on the internet. So they responded. And because he didn't like their response, he disowned them and changed his will. Like I said, I hope for nothing but the absolute and unadulterated worst for him. He's saying that he's loving life. He has, money. He has these little trinkets. He has all of that. Anybody who is truly loving their life, if somebody came out with something, which they didn't defame him, he's the one who was defaming them, he would just enjoy life and say, this is not true. I'm not going to drag this out. He would be the bigger person. He would have some wisdom. He would be an elder. He would do something like that. Even, reconcile with them. He would do that. But you see how childish and how disgusting, and this little smirk on his face to say, yeah, I have all this money, all these things, and I have this kids, and I'll just replace you with them. Like, this is so incredibly wicked and evil. And only a soulless thing could do this to their own biological children. Smirking and the smiling and the taunting is what makes it worse. But he said he will not give an apology. He will not change from his path. And I am actually glad for that. I am glad that he put this statement out to the public. So when whatever befalls him and his family for the disgusting evil-ish that they've done, we can go back and play this and understand why what has happened with him and his family has happened. I don't care if it's not until his newborn child is an adult. There will be consequences for what he is doing. This evil demon will get what he deserves sooner or later. But I'll go ahead and leave it right here. Let me know your thoughts about what he said, and I will see you in the next one.